Hey team, so this is going to be a walk cycle, a generic walk cycle tutorial, and before we get started I wanted to point out a few things with the rig and the setup of the file that I'm working with. Alright, so with the rig I just want to make sure, I think I mentioned it in the tutorial, but I want to make sure that the head and your shoulders, the head space and world space on the shoulders, you have to adjust those in the channel box, and the FK needs to be in world space for the shoulders, and then the head, the world space, or for the space, it needs to be in world as well. It doesn't need to, I have to be, but those are where they're at and pointed out. Also, the animation, the file that I'm working with is 30 frames per second. So if you want to follow frame by frame, your file needs to be at 30 frames per second. And to change that, you go down to the bottom here and you have your selection of frames. You want to scrub down till you see 30 frames per second and hit that, or you want to go down to the guy running away from the gear, go to time slider, and you can adjust your frame rate in here as well. So I believe that is it, and this is what we're trying to create, or going to create. It's just a simple walk cycle that moves forward and is able to be in place as well. The rig is not yet available, but it will be soon, and I'll let you guys know when it is. Okay, enjoy. Okay team, today we're going to be doing the walk cycle. So first, to start off, I'm going to grab my feet. I want to start off with the right foot. I'm going to move it up about 9 units in translation Z. I'm just going exact, or I'm going to do 10. Let's do 10. And then on the opposite foot, I'm going to go a negative 10 on the Z. Oops. Negative 10. Okay, so from here, we're just going to focus on the waist down. So I'm just going to grab the controllers from the waist down for now and make sure I have a key on all the attributes. And this is going to be the start frame. I'm going to push him down a little bit. So the first frame I want to start off on is obviously the contact pose. This is the contact pose for this character, or for this one. I could either rotate the foot, but based off of the foot moving translation right here, I'm just going to use the ball roll in the foot controller. Put the foot up. I'm going to bring this up a little bit. And this is going to be my initial contact pose. And the back foot, I'm going to also use the ball roll to hyperextend the knee. Get a tiny bit of bend in there. On the waist, I'm going to rotate it just a little bit. The foot that's forward, I'm going to push the hip about a rotation to looks like I want to go 5. So this will be my contact pose, and looking at it, I think I want to actually push my foot out to be on translation Z. Let's see if I can get the knee just a little bit. Let's go ahead and go to 12. I'll push this back foot. So I'm going to keep these consistent in distance for now. Get that at 12. And then adjust the rotation of the hips a tad bit, and the Y on the cog. Just to make sure the back leg is not too or hyperextended, a slight bend. Alright, so this is going to be our first pose, a contact pose. And right now I'm at 32 frames per 32 frames, and I'm at 30 frames per second. So my next pose, when I'm focused on basically making the first step, I'm going to have at frame 36. I'm going to go ahead and set a key at frame 36. And we're basically going to swap this pose, where the feet are going to basically switch positions. And the way I want to do that is simply just grab this foot. Oh, and in the timeline, I'm going to right click, copy. Then I'm going to paste, or basically paste that pose onto this foot. In the timeline, I'm going to right click, paste. and it's going to bring that foot to the same location. Then the same thing for this one. I'm going to go to frame 0, right click, oh sorry, on frame 0, I'm going to copy this pose, copy, select the other foot on frame 16, I'm going to paste it. Now both of the feet are basically moving in the same position at the same time. And now we're going to knock out the rest of our poses. I'm going to knock those out by grabbing the up and down in the cog. We are going to go to our first pose, which will be the contact pose. I'm going to bring it out to about, I think it'll be 4 frames. Oh, sorry, the contact pose. This will be the down pose. I'm going to push it down a little bit. Make sure I go to the foot controller. Zero out my ball roll. And I'll adjust the feet as I go, but I'm going to put the ball roll on there. And this back foot at frame 4, it's going to continue to push a little bit backwards. Let's push it to where the knee hyperextends. Then you go to the ball roll and push that so the toes is a little bit up, like so. So we got our first pose. Go ahead and set a key on those. I want to move up to 4 more frames at frame 8, and this will be the passing pose. I want to make sure I zero out my ball roll, my foot. Make sure that the foot is slightly over the middle. I'm going to raise up my cog just a little bit. So there's a down and a slight raise. And then I'm going to set a key on there. That's one pose. Or that's the other pose. So we got a contact, down, or passing. And now at frame 12, we are going to have our up. I'm going to go to the foot that's passing on the ball roll. I'm going to zero out that key. Push the foot up just a little bit. Slight alter. And now this time on the cog, I want to push it up just enough where it's slightly over frame 16, slightly higher. Because at this point, the body's pushing off the waist to keep the character pushing, or to keep the character moving forward. And I do have some keyframe issues going on, so I'm just going to go ahead and press my space bar. Go into here, yep. Now I'm just going to hit auto key right here. Or not auto key, but the auto tangent. And that should fix that. And that's something, if you have it throughout the whole character, you can just select all the character and go into your graph editor. Go ahead and select auto key, and it'll fix up those little blemishes. Okay, now that I got the up pose, it's going back to the contact pose. But on the up pose, let's make sure that my foot here, the ball roll is just enough so the knee's not hyperextending. Several things I want to do is make sure that, although he's pushing off, that the leg doesn't lock out 100%. And this will be a balance act between your hips, your up and down, and your ball roll once we get the feet and everything going. Because that lock right here is what we're going to try to avoid. So the hips on here are actually backwards, so I'm going to select frames, or on the y-axis, we're going to go ahead and put a negative in front of the value, and that's just going to simply copy the value over. And the one thing I didn't do, or one thing I'm going to just do now is just go grab the waist controller. Since I changed the frame 16 to be the opposite, so now this hip is forward, I'm going to go ahead and delete these middle keys and just let it sort of auto adjust as the leg goes. And then later on we can go back in and fine tune it, put our own twist on it. So I'm going to go ahead and select, or set a key, select it, select a key on all of them. So now the walk sort of cycles. And for this, let me see if I have a random key not working. Oops. Alright, so I have to fix that. Okay, so at this point, we got our half of our first step, or actually our first step in, but half of the cycle in. And now what we're going to do is just basically copy this onto the second portion of it. And the way we're going to do that is several ways. Is go ahead and select this. So what we're going to do at frame 4 on frame 20 is basically copy frame 4 to frame 20, but we also needed to switch so that the character starts on the second phase of the walk cycle. So what I'm going to do on frame 20, I'm going to go ahead and middle mouse, go to frame 4, then go to frame 20, middle mouse. You can drag it or just hold it. Get to frame 20, press S. You're going to copy that value and do the same with 8. At 8, you're going to go to 24, middle mouse, set a key. At 12, you're going to go to 28, middle mouse, set a key. So now we have the up and down, oops, well, mostly up and down. At frame 16, or actually at frame 0, you're just going to basically copy this whole pose and put it at frame 32. So now you have the cog basically doing the motion, and then we can also copy out the waist itself right here. And do it slightly different though, or no, it's going to be the same but slightly different. Or actually just delete. You want to copy frame 0 to frame 32, press S. Go ahead and delete the frame 20, 24, and 28. And so you just sort of let it auto get there. So now if you play through, you've got your waist basically doing the walk. And now the next thing to do is just to match the feet. Now you notice that I do have anim tools down here that I'm not using at all. This is more for if you are a fresh video or a fresh Maya user and you don't have none of the special tools or anything. A simple way to still make the walk cycle and still make it effective. So now we want to do the same thing as far as copying poses over at frame 4 to 20. We're going to copy these poses, but we're going to be slightly different in order to match our foot location. So I'm going to copy the right foot, go to timeline, copy. Now we'll go to frame 20, go to the opposite foot and paste that foot there. So now we got on frame 4, you got the foot coming down right here. Now you're going to have that opposite foot making the contact come down. Now you do the same thing with frame, or with the right foot. We are going to copy the left foot on frame 4, then go to frame 20 and paste that on the right foot. So now we got our first matching pose from frame 4 to 20. And now we're going to do that same process for frame 8 and 12. So frame 8, you want to copy the right foot. Go to frame 24, you want to paste that onto the left foot. At frame 8, you want to copy the left foot, go to frame 24, and paste it on the right foot. Alright, now that we got that, we want to do the same thing on frame 28. So on frame 12, which is the up pose, we're going to copy the right foot, copy, go to frame 28, go to the left foot, and paste. And then for the opposite foot, we're going to grab the left foot this time, copy, go to the frame 28, grab the opposite foot, and then paste. Then all that's left is basically just copying the whole pose. Go to frame 0, drag all the way to frame 32, press S, and now you got your complete cycle. Alright, so there's going to be a few things to sort of fix here and there, but we'll tackle that on a later on this video. So now that we got our feet cycling, we're going to move on to getting the character moving forward with the feet.